Hey guys, Ian here with Power Wagon YouTube page. I just wanted to give you guys an update on another recent upgrade that I did to my vehicle, or at least I consider it an upgrade. I went ahead and invested in the Lensun flexible solar panel. Lensun's known for making different panels to fit all sorts of different vehicles, and they also have some standard panels that you can get for like the roof of your vehicle and stuff like that. But they make one specifically for the Ram 2500, and it ends up fitting the Power Wagon perfectly. There's been several times where I've been stranded with a dead battery, twice while camping, once at work, and I ended up getting like a battery charger and also a jump starter, which definitely do help with keeping the battery maintained and also jumping it off when, maybe I've used the lights or something too much. But I wanted something that I didn't have to set up. I was looking for ease of use and something that basically just set it and forget it. And this panel is definitely good for that. I currently have it configured to only charge the vehicle battery, although it is capable of charging the vehicle battery and an auxiliary item. But just keeping the vehicle in tip-top shape, ready to start it at any time, is just worth every penny for me. So that being said, I did get a small discount for making this video, but I actually reached out to them and asked them if they would discount me. I wanted the panel, and although I didn't want to spend full price for it, I was willing to do that. Gratefully, Lensun did actually provide me a small discount, and more importantly, they actually gave me a discount that I can offer to you guys, so stay tuned for that. Without further ado, here's the install of my Lensun hood solar panel. Thanks, guys. I started my install by backing the truck to the end of the driveway and lowering the air pressure in the front tires. This really helped lower the front end and made it much easier to reach over the hood, as well as into the engine bay later on for hooking up the wires. I have this Amazon step that I got. It's been very helpful when loading the dogs into the rooftop tent, and it's definitely helpful for getting into the engine bay. After unboxing the solar panel, I laid it out on my workbench and began working on marking centerline. I felt that marking the center line overall would be an easier way of placing the panel. I've seen a lot of other videos online where guys will outline the outside corners of the panel and try to locate it front to back. But ultimately, if you mark center line and you don't really care about its exact placement in regards to the edge of the hood, then center line is perfectly fine. I figured as long as the panel landed about a ½ inch or so away from the edge of the hood, then I would be happy, and it ended up working out just fine. I then taped the wires to the top of the panel with the leftover blue tape that I had. I did this just to make sure that they would stay up and out of the way when I had all that exposed 3M tape and was trying to set the panel very cautiously. I then repeated the process at the bottom of the panel to mark center line. Note that I'm actually using the edge of the tape to mark the center line, not a mark with a Sharpie. I then did the opposite side of the piece of tape on the hood of the truck. So then I'm basically just making sure the two edges don't overlap. In these next few bits, you'll have to ignore my dog. Of course, she's classic hound, knows I'm outside working and she'd rather be playing. And I was also fighting another battle. I had both pollen season going on, so pollen was everywhere, and some neighbors doing some yard work, so apologize for the extra noise. For this part of the process, I'm basically marking the end of where the panel's gonna sit. I'm just using the piece of tape as a point of reference and making sure that it's equal from front to back, and I will end up putting centerline marks on this tape as well. The old adage of measure twice, cut once is definitely true here. I'm not exactly the best at math, so I had to measure this a few times just to make sure I was getting the right center line. Of course, using the end of the tape isn't always the best idea, so if you're familiar with the concept of what they call burning an inch, that's what I was doing here. you hold the one end of your measurement at the 1 inch mark instead of the movable metal end. By burning that 1 inch, if you have a 30-inch measurement, you're basically dividing 29 by 2, not 30. So it does make it a little bit more tricky, especially when you get into 3/8 and half inches and things like that. So measure twice, cut once, in my case 3 or 4 times. I then began using these reference points to draw a straight line down the hood of the truck. I would not leave that straight line down the center, but it would serve as a purpose of making sure that center was the same at the bottom and top of the hood. You can already see there's more pollen on the hood from when I first wiped it. I definitely ended up having to wipe it down a few more times, including one last time right before I placed the panel. I then used that same denatured alcohol to wipe the back of the panel down per the instructions. Obviously, anytime you're going to use double-sided tape, you do want to make sure you have a nice clean surface, both on what you're sticking the item to and the item itself. I chose to do a solid border all the way around the panel as best I could, especially one solid piece across the front, just to help keep any rain from driving up underneath it while driving. Be sure to squeeze any air bubbles out of this tape as best you can. The kit comes with 2 rolls of tape, and that ended up being more than enough. The tape that you see applied here already is pretty much only the first roll. I did use the majority of the second roll on the vertical pieces and then left some just to mount the solar controller underneath the hood. I really don't think you need as much tape as I ended up using, but I figured, heck, they sent it to me, why not use it all? I really don't think this panel's going anywhere. As much as I wanted to be able to set this panel by myself and not have to ask anybody for help, it really is a good idea to have at a minimum one other person, but obviously 2 other people is going to be preferred. I ended up recruiting my neighbor and my wife to help me out, but I did want to go ahead and place the panel just to make sure that it looked right with the markings that I had made to this point. I figured I would remove the extra tape just to make it a little less confusing as to where the panel sat. And also, I didn't want that tape preventing the adhesion of the double-sided tape once I began to stick it.
Hold your end up real high.
Yeah, do the ends up high, babe, but then let the center drop down.
Oh, okay.
And hold your, take your up. That way I can line the tape up full touch.
If I could do this part over again, I would have removed a little bit more of that tape towards the windshield wipers of the truck. That did end up being one of the only flaws in my install because the remaining tape there still did end up resulting in a slight buckle right there at the wire. It doesn't really bother me, but I know that would drive a lot of people nuts, so just figured I would mention it.
Yeah. That's actually pretty dang straight on this decal right here.
Another point I'll make is that the Ram Power Wagon comes with a hood decal that ended up working perfectly for my application. Lensun does offer their own decals in case your hood does not have a factory decal, and it is recommended in order to protect the paint from the heat that this thing generates. Speaking of heat, it really does get hot. After just a little bit of time sitting in the sun, I was trying to rub, I don't know, a little piece of dirt or something off of it at one point, and it felt like it nearly took my fingerprints off. From here forward, the process is really easy. I opened my hood and started wiring up the solar controller that comes with this. It's a really small unit. It's held in place very securely with a little bit of the leftover double-sided tape I had. I wired up the positive and the negative to my battery, and then I began routing the wire for my solar panel itself. Be sure when you stick this solar controller to your mounting surface that the end with the control lights are visible to you. There are 3 lights on the unit, and there is a card that comes with the kit that tells you what the lights mean, but you want to be able to see what these lights are doing. The controller has the input for the solar and an output for your battery. It also has a secondary output for an auxiliary, but I chose not to use that for right now. After getting the wires sitting about where I wanted them, I started using zip ties to kind of tidy everything up. There you have it, guys. That completes the install of my Lensun flexible hood solar panel. I've had this thing for about a month now, and it really came in handy on a recent camping trip that I did. I carry a fridge with me at all times, even for work and just going grocery shopping and whatnot. And while I don't have the fridge cooling 24/7, I can easily go on a 3 to 4 day trip and know that everything will stay charged and ready to go. If you're interested in purchasing one of these panels, look at my description below for a link and a 10% off coupon. Cheers!